School shooters are abused children. We live in a world where school shootings are front page news. Everybody knows about it. People talk about it. You can't miss it on every media news outlet. And yet, for all the publicity that school shooters get, no one ever seems to ask why they became school shooters. What makes a school shooter? I like to read comment sections, whether it be on news sites or YouTube. I like to see what people are saying. And you know what I see when it comes to school shooters? A lot of comments all saying the same thing. Kill him. Execute him. Death penalty. Put him in a jail cell with Bubba so he can rape him. That's the mentality of our society. Punish, 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 but never look deep inside to see what caused the person to behave this way. And it gets even more ghoulish than that. Because you see news stories where some horrible atrocity or shooting happens, and in the comments section, people are in there looking to find out what the ethnicity or the background of the perpetrator was, so they can be happy if it was from a different group from them. Isn't that sick? An atrocity is good if it happened from someone else's group, because that confirms your bias about them. I mean, talk about moral relativity taken to its furthest extent. But not to get sidetracked, back to the topic of school shooters. What makes a school shooter? A lot of people would say bullying. They get bullied in school. That could be part of it. But I don't believe that just getting bullied in school leads to someone shooting up a school at random. First of all, everyone gets bullied in school at some point or another. And the ones who were bullies from the very get-go, they got bullied at home. So everyone has some experience with bullying. But very, very few people end up shooting up a school. And I think for those who were inclined to violence, wouldn't it make more sense just to shoot the bully? To actually shoot the person who was bullying you? Why just shoot up a bunch of random people? It's not about that. In one sense, you could say that school shooters are doing it for the fame. These are people with very low self-esteem, which is a well-known characteristic of people who have suffered child abuse. And what could be better for your self-esteem than being famous? Is it even possible that someone could shoot up a school or commit some kind of horrible atrocity without being front page news? Without getting a made-for-TV movie about them? It's a sure route to fame. But still, that doesn't get into the true root of what caused them to become school shooters. Child abuse is at the heart of this. These are abused children. A lot of them have psychological problems. And here's another thing, and this right here is a stone cold fact. The vast majority of school shooters are on antidepressants. Well, I'm shocked that that wonderful profession of psychiatry has something to do with this. Did you know that the drug manufacturers literally obtained a court order to prevent the release of information as to what drugs these school shooters were on. That's a fact. You cannot find out what drugs these school shooters were on and how many of them they were on. So of course that leads to the question of, why were they on antidepressants in the first place? Why are kids depressed, high school kids depressed? Because they're abused as children. And we live in a society with no compassion that says, as soon as you turn 18, or as soon as you commit some kind of horrible crime, you're an adult, and we're going to just punish, and never ask what caused you to become that way. Because when you ask about what caused them to become that way, you get into uncomfortable answers about this society and the way it hides the Great Plague. That's why they don't want you to know that school shooters are on antidepressants. They want you to believe that the Great Plague of child abuse can be healed by antidepressants and all the other pills and drugs that they try to give children and adults. So isn't it inconvenient when the facts show that these school shooters were all on these drugs, these antidepressant drugs? And isn't it amazing that they had the power to hide that fact from you? To hide the fact that these kids were on antidepressants so you can't find out what drugs they were on and how many. It says a lot about what the real power is in this country and in this world. And I'll tell you for a fact, the powers that be, or whatever you want to call it, do not want you to know about the Great Plague. And I'll tell you something else. The powers that be, or whatever you want to call them, are abused children themselves.